Hey, I'm doing psychopathic stuff here right now. I'm going to rank over 150 roguelikes. There's a lot here. So right now we got 163. We're doing this live on Twitch currently. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously you're watching a stale video, okay? You're not watching me live. You saying hello in the comment section, low chance that I'm going to respond right now. I'll probably, I guess I could respond later. Since this is live, there is a opportunity for more games to get added to this list as we go. So it may and will expand upon the 163 games that are listed here. So I don't know what the final number is going to be. So I can't say it at the current moment, but there's over 150. We're going to rank them all. Quick explanation for each one. Blast through them, okay? It's easy as that. We'll figure out what our best roguelikes of all time are and which ones to stay away from in the F tier. And there's going to be a good number in the haven't played, to be fair. So without further ado, let's get started. First game is Etherloop. This is a top-down shooter roguelike akin to a Binding of Isaac Enter the Gungeon. I've played, honestly, an alarming amount of this game. I probably have close to 10 hours in it. There's not enough content for like 2 hours in this game. It's not very good, and I probably would not recommend it in 98% of cases. So to be blunt, I'm putting it an F to start, and we're getting bold immediately. So let's do it. Astral Ascent. This is a Dead Cells style platformer that I enjoyed more than I expected to. It's not the kind of game that I would play a lot of in my spare time just because it's not actually a game that I kind of like, but a game in this genre, a Dead Cells-like game, I actually thought this one was very good. I think that Dead Cells is probably better than it, but I do still think that it's pretty good. Risk of Rain 2. I'm gonna put it in meh, it's fine, but I'm not a huge fan, okay? I haven't played the game in many years. Okay, I played it when it first came out. I understand that everybody loves it, okay? I understand everybody loves it. It's just not... I don't find it fun. I think that it's tedious. I think that the time mechanic is not enjoyable, and I think that the upgrades are not interesting enough for me to get super duper excited about it. So immediately controversial, everybody's mad, we move on. Crab Champions. Do you like Risk of Rain 2? If you like Risk of Rain 2, follow the bar down to the next logical statement. Do you like crabs? If the answer to that is yes, you will like this game. For me, I think it's probably a worse version of Risk of Rain 2, which, not saying too much, right? It's funny for the first hour you play because you're a crab. Otherwise, it's just Risk of Rain, is my opinion, but as a first-person crab shooter. So, now we get into some bangers. Tiny Rogues. I'm gonna hit you with the... I may move it, okay? But I think that it could cement the bottom tier of best of all time. It looks insane because it's the only game in there right now, but there's a good chunk I'm gonna put up there. Tiny Rogues is a banger game, man. Top-down shooter roguelike, similar to a Binding of Isaac, but with a lot more. It's got a lot of content. It's got a lot of characters. It's got a lot of items and guns and unique things, and the game is continuing to grow and expand. It's just banging. Overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, unless something has changed in the past like 48 hours. It's a super good game, and it's hella cheap. Highly worth all of your time. Gloom. This is a very old roguelike, platformer style. I think I've played about 2 minutes of it. Those 2 minutes, it felt clunky, didn't feel all that good to me. I think that realistically, this probably goes into the bleh tier for me. I don't think that it's an F tier game. It does have some character, the story is interesting. Just don't think that I love it enough to put it anywhere above bleh at the current moment. Let's go Round Guard. this is gonna be my hot take, I think. out of the 170 or so, this is gonna be my hot take. I don't really like Round Guard at all. And I'm just gonna hit a refresh on the page real quick to get any of the new ones that have gotten dumped in. I don't really like Round Guard. It's a Peglin-like game that came before Peglin. It's closer to Peggle than it is Peglin. Peglin is more pachinko. Round Guard is more Peggle. And it's just a clunky game with a lot of slow animations. There's not a lot of strategy in it. Runs are really long. The characters don't seem interesting. Every time I go back to it, I like it less than the time before. So it's in the bleh for me. Let's do Iris and the Giant. So Iris and the Giant is a deck building roguelike with an absolutely absurd and insane meta progression system that just doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work, and I'm going to put it here on my list. Deck builders are meant to be super strategic, right? And the reality is that Iris and the Giant gates you from making progress solely because you haven't played enough of the game instead of not having good strategy. And that puts it in bled tier. Maybe once everything is unlocked, it could be higher, but I don't think that it deserves to be in a roguelike tier list. I don't think it deserves to be above bleh in this list. A deck builder that does deserve to be above bleh in this list is Breach Wanderers, and I'm going to put it in the solid game. In no way, shape, or form is it my favorite deck builder that I have ever played. But I think that it's a really quality deck builder. There's a lot of characters, there's a lot of content. It's just not the most refined game that you can play. But if you're a Slay the Spire fan and you're going, I kind of want a new deck builder to sink my teeth into, I think that Breach Wanderers gives you the same feeling of Slay the Spire while offering you something different. And that puts it as a solid game for me. Monster Train, as a deck building roguelike, probably the second best ever, is going to be my current opinion. Monster Train is banging. It's an awesome game. Second to Slay the Spire. I'm not going to put it in the best of all time. I think it's just in the love it tier. Got some good modifiers, good characters, funky runs, a lot of strategy. It's good, and I think that it deserves to be our first in the love it tier. Let's do Flint Hook. This is one where I'm actually going to put it here. And I'm going to put it below Risk of Rain 2 and Crab Champions. I don't think Flint Hook is a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I think that it's a good game. I just wasn't a fan of it. And it's weird why I wasn't a fan of it. Because I love grappling hook mechanics. And I love pixel art games. Felt like a perfect combination for me. I didn't really like the progression through the game being a like campaign style roguelike. I thought the movement was a little clunky in it. And then the thing that I disliked the most, the game was very busy. And it was hard to pay attention, at least for me, to everything going on the screen. Like the background tended to blend into the foreground. There were a lot of like design choices that made it not my favorite to play. But it's another game, I haven't played it in probably 5-6 years. I would love to go back and check it out sometime. NetHack. This is like an original roguelike game, I'm pretty sure. I've never played it. So I can't say much about it here. Brutal Orchestra. Okay, let's maybe this is my hot take of the day. I think Brutal Orchestra has the chops to be up here, man. I think it's below Tiny Rogues. Okay. But after playing now, like 20 something hours of Brutal Orchestra, I think it's really good. To the point of being in that conversation for, top 15 roguelikes of all time. Lovable characters, really intense strategy, interesting fights, interesting characters. I do think that the game maybe needs better access to the content. Like, there's a lot of items in the game that I'm nowhere close to even unlocking and probably never will. Okay, but every time I play, I find something new, and that makes for a really fun roguelike experience. Like, it's a very infinitely replayable game because I truly never find that 2 runs are the same. So I'm putting it in best of all time, and I took the time to talk a little bit more on it because I do genuinely like that game a lot, and I think that it's really good. Neon Chrome. This is a bleh game to me. I've played a good chunk of it. It's a top-down shooter roguelike, very Enter the Gungeon style, but without the upgrade variety that really makes a top-down shooter shine. If you're a top-down shooter and you don't have interesting runs, right? If runs feel samey in a top-down shooter, you might as well just cement yourself in the bleh tier for me. So, I just don't think there's anything special about the game. I know that that's kind of messed up to say, but there's nothing special about it. Enter the Gungeon. Let's not even bite or beat around the bend. Bite the bullet. I'm putting it in best of all time. I'm just gonna be blunt. It's probably a good distance above Tiny Rogues 2. Enter the Gungeon, to me, this is sitting in the top 5 roguelikes of all time. Depending on a given day, I think it can go as high as 3. I don't think I'll put it any higher than 3. But if you don't know Enter the Gungeon at this point, it's hard for me to sit here and explain it. Like, just go play the game. You're missing out on good stuff if you're a roguelike fan watching this video and have not played Enter the Gungeon or heard of it. So, great modding community too. Very, very worth it. Atomicrops. Look, I haven't played enough of it. Okay, I have played it. I haven't played enough of it. I understand the hype. So you already know where it's going. I understand the hype. I think it's a really good game. I just didn't really like it when I played it. So it goes in the mid. It's fine for me. It's definitely, I'd rather play it than any of these 3, for sure. I know the game's gotten better over the years. I know that a lot of people sing its praises as one of the greatest roguelikes out there. I'm sure it could be if I took the time to go back and play it again, and, you know, maybe I will. But for right now, at the time of making this tier list, it's just fine, okay? It's just fine. Let's bring in Beat Blast. Beat Blast is one of those games. I like Beat Blast more than the average individual likes Beat Blast. Which is why I'm putting it here, okay? I can't put it in the I love it tier. I do think that Beat Blast could be considered a bleh game to some people, but I like it a lot. I think that it's a highly, highly unique game that has a lot of interesting things that it does. I do think that it has a amount of content issue. I think the game also has a graphical issue where the game is way too freaking dark and should be significantly brighter or have the design changed or something. But just the concept of the game where you are creating music as you shoot your shots is such a brilliant idea that I have to put it as a solid game for me. Let's talk Beyond the Long Night. This is actually a tough one for me. I'm going to put it in solid game, okay? Me personally, it's here, okay? But I'm speaking as a collective player of roguelikes. Beyond the Long Night goes here. And the reason that I put it here is I don't really consider this game a roguelike. It's in this tier list because it calls itself a roguelike. I don't really think it's a roguelike. This is like it looks like a roguelike, it smells like a roguelike, but it doesn't really play like a roguelike. This is a mystery story adventure game wrapped inside of a roguelike. And I love it for the mystery adventure game. It's just solid as a roguelike, and I think that there's room for it to expand as a roguelike. And I hope to see it expand as a roguelike in the future. But for right now, just a solid game. I do think that As a roguelike, I probably like Beat Blast more than it, but I'm going to keep it right here for right now. Slasher's Keep. This was a first-person melee roguelike that came out that like the entire world was interested in when it came out. I get the hype as a melee roguelike. I didn't think the game was very good. Okay, so I'm putting it in the meh. It's fine. I do not think the game is worth a lick to me in my life, so I'm putting it there. I'm sorry if you really like it. Cavity Busters. This is a new roguelike we've been playing recently. I think it's a solid game. Okay, I think it's a solid game. I think playing it a little bit more, I could probably put it in Love It, even. It's a Binding of Isaac style game. More so Binding of Isaac original Binding of Isaac. It's an incredibly gross game. There's a lot of movement tech in it. The game is more about movement than it is your unique synergies and things like that. Like, it's a speedrunner's dream as a roguelike. Very fun game. Just I don't think it's good enough to go into Love It tier. Something that can go into Love It tier, or even best of all time, Space Gladiators. Really struggling with is it a best of all time or is it a Love It? Is it a best of all time or is it a Love It? I don't know. I have to just bite the bullet. I'm putting it here. I'm putting it here. I think it's a good game. Okay? I think it's a really good game. I think it's one of those games that made me love roguelikes, actually. So I can only put it in best of all time. It's a platformer, similar to like a Revita in terms of kind of the gameplay of it, but what it provides you is this incredible stat system where you're constantly balancing your damage versus your defense versus your speed versus your monetary, economy, and every item you pick up is going to increase some things, decrease others, so there's a lot of decisions that you have to make as you play the game. And anytime you can wrap a bunch of decisions into an action-based roguelike, I'm in. It's a lot of fun, and I think the game's incredible. Arcanium. This is a interesting deck-building tactics game. I'm going to put it in solid, probably right here. I probably play Arcanium once or twice a year, and I absolutely enjoy it every time I play it. I think that there's a lot of grind in the game. I think that it's a boring game to watch for content, and I think that it's a little bit of a like information overload game. It's like a game that's trying to be a board game, but they made it as a video game. So you end up with a lot of like overhead mechanics and things that are a little right? But the content is there. There's a ton of content in the game, bunch of game modes, interesting character design, fun deck building. Just a little long, still good, still very good. You want a refresh? I'll hit you with a refresh. Thank you. Spirits Abyss. This is the game we've been playing this year. Dude, I love this game. I really do. I think this game is really solid. I'll probably play Monster Train above it. But it's a Spelunky-like game with a little bit more unique, just character design and just item functionality than a Spelunky. It's not as hard as Spelunky and it's not as fine-tuned as Spelunky, but it's still a really solid game that holds its own in this genre. Let's talk another farm roguelike, possibly an extremely hot take. Dude, I freaking love this game. To the point where I'm putting it above Spirits Abyss. For what it's worth, I don't think that the game is that good, okay? I don't think it's that good, but I freaking love it. As a Stardew Valley farming strategic roguelike, it's actually brilliant. And I think that there is a lot of space if the dev wants to expand this game. The sky is the limit for what they could do with this game. I don't think it will ever reach that point, but I do think that it is good enough to to be in that conversation if they expanded on it. I absolutely loved it. I did a full series on it. It's good. Neophyte, also in the love it. I can't believe I'm putting it below Another Farm roguelike, because Neophyte is genuinely very good. It's a fantastic wave defense game. It's a lot of different upgrades and abilities. Fun combat. I find that wave-based games tend to have pretty repetitive combat, and I actually think that the combat's pretty fun in it. And some good unlocks and stat management similar to a Space Gladiators. I think it's a brilliant game, and it's super cheap. Well worth all of the pennies that you spend on it. Let's talk Stronghold Dungeon. I think this is like here for me. This is a game that tried to expand on Luck Be a Landlord's idea by making basically a dungeon crawling slot machine game. And it works for a run, and then you realize that all of the content existed in that run. And then there's not much else in the game. So right now, bleh, could improve with upgrades and updates to the game, but for right now, I'm not the hugest fan. Let's talk Ice Wall. Ice Wall is a game that had a little bit of popularity. Not a ton, okay? Not a ton. I think it's here for now. And this could be, in terms of the potential scale, it has the potential to be mid-tier solid game in the future. Right now, this is a Space Invaders roguelike that has a bunch of interesting upgrades to kind of make your shooter more interesting. Kind of a brutally hard game as well. It just doesn't have enough right now. But an early access game has room to expand. Again, it's super cheap. I think it's less than $5. Worth a look if you're a fan of those funky roguelikes. Just King. It's a solid game, okay? It's a solid game. It's probably here, okay? Auto-battling roguelike with a little bit of action dumped into it, right? You still have to control your characters, you just don't control how they fire, but otherwise it is a full-blown auto-battler akin to like a Super Auto Pets kind of game. I think that it works for what it has. I do think that the game does not have enough content to hold its ground in the auto-battling community. If you do an auto-battler, you have to have a lot of units so that you can go with a ton of variety, have every run feel different. Just King has a little bit of a meta problem where there are some characters who are just better than others. And they don't really lock you into not being able to use certain characters because there's not enough in the game. So as you're cycling through them, refreshing, you can kind of always get the ones you want if you want to. And that's a problem with a lot of roguelike games where it's just there's not enough content in them. So Words Can Kill. Words Can Kill, I genuinely one of my most looked forward to games in 2022, and ended up being one of my most disappointing games in 2022 because I don't think that it was that good. I'm gonna put it in bleh. I'd probably play it above Round Guard again, but Words Can Kill was a game that I thought was going to be the Bookworm Adventures kind of game, but as a roguelike, and instead it was Scrabble, but as a strategy game, and it didn't work for me. There was also the upgrades and kind of power-ups in the game didn't feel monumental enough for me to look forward to hopping into a new run each time. So it goes in bleh tier for me. Tower Tactics Liberation. I put this on here mainly because Retromation would kill me if I didn't talk about it. I've never played it. I've never played it, but I want to. Apparently this is one of the best like tower defense kind of games that exists for a roguelike. Hello Rito, nice to see you. I have to play it eventually. I'm pretty sure that Rito straight up gave me a copy of this game and told me that I needed to play it, or he kneecapped me, and I still haven't. So I will play it eventually, and then I will rank it as probably a love it game because it is a love it game. Tombstar. This game was not very good. It was not very good. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it here. This game was not very good. It was an Enter the Gungeon style top-down shooter. Very, very similar to Enter the Gungeon. Upgrades didn't feel good in it. Gameplay felt okay, but nothing that hadn't been done before for 2023. It's one of those things where if this game released in 2016, it probably would be in like solid game tier. But in 2022, when this released, it doesn't hold its ground in the roguelike community. So it has to go in F tier. I'm sorry. I really am. It's tough, but I would literally play any of these games in the Bleh tier before loading up Tombstar. And that's my indicator for where it should be. Luck be a landlord. Let's be real, right? I played a lot of this game. I think this game is incredible. I think it's very, very good. Does it make the Roguelike Hall of Fame? No. Luck be a landlord makes the Hall of Very Good. Okay? This is where, like, Kevin Love goes. It's a incredible roguelike. It will probably be sitting at the top of the I love it tier. I can't in my right mind put it in best of all time. So, if you don't know Luck Be a Landlord, slot machine roguelike, original game, super interesting, very cool, great modding community. Can't put it in best of all time. I'm sorry. I really am. The dev is such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. I feel bad not putting his game in best of all time. I think it's brilliant. I have to have some level of differentiation between best of all time and I love it, and I think that Luck Be a Landlord is the perfect head of the I love it tier, not being in best of all time. Hit me with Rounds. Dude, I actually unironically think, and I know that Rounds was basically made as a joke in some ways, I think that Rounds is a brilliant game, and I think that it also has a brilliant modding community that has made the game even better. It's the kind of game where you could load it up, and if there are people playing online, which there are not many anymore, it's a banger game to just spend like 10 minutes playing at a time. Fun roguelike PvP game. Really, really good. Dungeon Deathball. I personally love this game. I think that as a game, it's probably in the solid game situation. There's just not enough content in it. It's got some really fun tactical gameplay. In fact, I think it's some of the most fun tactical gameplay that I've played and had to figure out while in a setting that was very interesting. But it doesn't have enough in it that makes me put it above anything else. Okay? Okay. We're going it. We're going with it. Astronarch/Astronarch. No clue how you actually pronounce this game. Once again, a game that Retromation has told me about 900 times to play, and I haven't. So it has to go into the haven't played tier. I've heard it's very, very good as an auto battler game. I know close to nothing about it except that I had to put it into the pyramid and had to get the sprite sheets for it. So I bought the game solely to get the sprite sheets and then never played it. So, rough one, but has to go and haven't played. So far, the haven't played are like 3 games that I should definitely play. So, that's where we're sitting. Dungeon Wizard/Wizards. This game was not great. I think I probably would put it... here in the Bleh tier. There's just not enough to it. I think that it's one of those things that it was really interesting as an idea, as a good, like... It's an idea, right? That was what this game was. It was an idea that got sold on Steam. It has the ability to expand and be really, really fascinating. It's basically a match 4 roguelike, but a match a lot more than 4 roguelike. And it did a lot of things that were kind of cool, but it doesn't do enough in order to be higher than Bleh. So, let's talk Voidigo. I don't think you're gonna like my opinion. Dude, people love this game. I don't know how many times recently I've gotten comments that are like, can you play Voidigo? Are you ever gonna play Voidigo? I played 1 episode of Voidigo. I thought the game was not great. I found it to be like a headache-inducing graphic scheme. I found the movement to not be satisfying. I'm putting it in bleh. I didn't like the upgrade system either. It just didn't hit the right chords for me, and maybe that was a me problem. And it could be in the meh, it's fine. Like to be fair, it was fine. I like it more than Slasher's Keep, so this is a fair point. I like it's just fine. I didn't think it did anything unique enough for people to talk about it at the caliber that people talk about it. So let's talk Rogue Slide. This is a 2048 roguelike. There's not enough content in it. That's the biggest issue. The game is like $2. It's hard for me to sit here and be like, it sucks. Like, it doesn't suck. It's a fine game. It's just, is it the kind of game that you are going to get more than an hour out of? Probably not, okay? Like, it's just fine. It's a 2048 roguelike. If you're the kind of guy who loves 2048, which is about 4 people on planet Earth, then you'll probably really love Rogue Slide. But if you're not one of those 4 people who also loves roguelikes, you're gonna be like, it's fine. So it's gonna go right there in my bleh tier. Rogue Glitch, this is a free roguelike that everybody and their mother has told me to play because most people are cheap. I have never played it, so I don't have any opinion on it at the current moment in time. Let's talk Skull the Hero Slayer. Brother, I've tried so many times. Okay, I have tried so many times to like this game. And I just don't. Okay, I would sooner load up Slasher's Keep than load up Skull. I genuinely just don't like the game. I don't get the hype at all. I mean, I get the hype because it's a very like beautiful graphics, great music, the art style's good, it's a well-polished game. It's just not fun. It's just not fun. And thus I struggle putting it literally anywhere except for right here. So people are gonna hate this one, but what can I say? It's just samey, man. It's so samey. You get these skulls, and the skulls are the same damn effects over and over and over. There's like no passive upgrades. The meta progression sucks in it. I just don't like it. I'm sorry. I just don't like it. Rise of the Slime, this is a deck builder that tried to do something really cool by making it where you could move in the deck building game. It was a platforming deck builder. Idea, amazing. Execution, bleh. Had potential. Would rather just play Slay the Spire or another deck building game of that kind. I'm sorry. Banners of Ruin. Okay, I'm going to put it in haven't played. However, call me a liar. You can look at my Steam page. You're going to see like 20 minutes in the game. I loaded it up, played for 20 minutes, went, this is just not for me, and then closed it. I didn't think that it was anything special, but I can't give myself 20 minutes of gameplay and go, it sucks, right? So I'm putting it in haven't played. It's a deck building tactical game. I don't think there's anything interesting about it, but I haven't played it enough to give an honest review right here, right now. So that's where I put it. Die in the Dungeon. Look. This is a demo right now. It's really hard for me to rate a demo. However, the prologue for Die in the Dungeon is genuinely a very good game. I enjoyed it a lot. I probably liked it more than Astral Ascent, I'm gonna tell you. And the fact that I like the demo this much tells me that when the full game releases, it's probably gonna be a solid game. If not in I love it, okay? So I put it there. I'm happy with it. We move on with our day. For the King. I have 0 YouTube videos on For the King, and yet I probably have 20 hours in For the King. Playing either with friends or with Anna. It's a brilliant roguelike multiplayer game. For the King 2 comes out soon. I don't think that it's in the best of all time. I would probably rather load up... I mean, here's the thing, right? Am I playing with friends or am I playing alone? If I'm playing alone, I'd rather load up all of these games over For the King. But if I'm playing with friends, dude, it's near the top. So I think I put it here on my list. It's an incredibly tough one to rank, actually, right now. I struggle here. Darkest Dungeon. I gotta take like a swig of whiskey or something before I do this one. I have not played it, okay? This is Darkest Dungeon 2. I have played it. I hated it, dude. I thought it was horrible, okay? I thought it was legitimately horrible. Had a lot of faith in the game. Had never played Darkest Dungeon 1, so I figured, yeah, there's Darkest Dungeon 1, putting that in haven't played. I never played Darkest Dungeon 1, so I figured let's play Darkest Dungeon 2. It sucked. The release of it was not good. I understand it's had a bunch of updates since then, but the reality is I will never open it ever again, probably. I'm sorry, okay? Darkest Dungeon fans, you're not eating good watching this video. But maybe in the future, we'll recheck out either one of these two games and see if they are better for me now than they were before. Snake RX. Oh man. Snake RX. How do you rank it? How do you rank it? I don't have a tier for awesome roguelike terrible dev. Right? Here's the honest here's my honest from the heart truth, okay? It's actually like here. Because the game is really good, okay? It's a very fun game that definitely it started to revolutionize an entire genre of games to me. However, the developer is a piece of garbage, okay? Just a terrible guy. Did a lot of racist and transphobic stuff on Twitter. Hugely into NFTs. Just a real special creature. But here's why I'm okay putting this in the I love it tier. The game is $5 on Steam. The source code for the game is sitting on GitHub, just open for you to download and play. You can just download it for free, okay? Download it, play a great game. Never think about the fact that the dev made it. Don't support him in any way. Move on with your life. It's just that simple, to be honest with you. The fact that it's open source, I mean, that's cool for the game. There's a lot of people who have taken the assets from this, like Flurp and Wackerball, two games that are probably not in this tier list. But both of those games by that company that's making those games, they're just taking the assets from Snake RX and doing other stuff with it. It's cool. It's awesome the game's open source. It's also awesome you can download it and then not support the dev. Synthetic. I played this a long time ago and I really didn't like it. But I think that was a me problem, which is why I'm still going to put Ice Wall above it. I think that was a me problem. I think that the game is probably good. I didn't enjoy that style of roguelike back in the day. But I think today I would enjoy it more, but I haven't played it since then, so I can't make a judgment call on that. Dicey Dungeons. Dude, this is a tough one, okay? This is a tough one. The reality is, I don't think it's in the best of all time. And here's my reasoning, okay? I love Dicey Dungeons. I play Dicey Dungeons every single year. I really only like about 5 of the missions in Dicey Dungeons. There's a lot of content in that game that I don't actually really enjoy. And the reality is that I like modding Dicey Dungeons more, but this is not modded Dicey Dungeons. I think that modded Dicey Dungeons, like using Jackie A's more fluff Dicey Dungeons, this sits here for me. Possibly even here for me. But Dicey Dungeons without mods, I think it's in the hall of very good. Okay? Still a brilliant game with an incredible soundtrack, but it is not a greatest roguelike of all time. What is a greatest roguelike of all time, and I will die on this hill for the rest of my freaking life. Circadian Dice is him, man. Circadian Dice is him. It's still the best dice-based roguelike that exists. I refuse to take any other comments here. It's It's the game. It's so good. $7, tons of content, tons of unique characters. The graphics are still horrible. The entire style of the game is horrific, but it doesn't matter because the gameplay is so damn good. It's insane. If Circadian Dice, and this is a hill I'm willing to die on, if Circadian Dice just did its art and its fonts differently and got a brand new UI, people would talk about it like it was the greatest game of all time. It would be in that discussion for top 10 roguelike by everybody in existence. But they take one look at the game and go, nope. So anyway, Legend of Bumbo, dude, I'm sorry, okay? It's in the F tier, and it's in the F tier not because I dislike the game, okay? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that Bumbo is probably overhated at this point. It's not a good game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a bad game either. Like, it is a bleh game in terms of its gameplay. It is an F game in terms of how the game was handled. Bumbo had the potential to be incredible. It had a lot of development issues. It had some design flaws. It ended up getting a fix to it and some patches to it that made the game playable. But at that point, it was too late for the game. It's just not... The fact that it killed its own potential is why it's an F. But if you are a fan of Isaac or you are a fan of puzzle-based roguelikes, I would still recommend it. I just would caution you that you're probably not getting exactly what you hope for. The game also has some crashes still, but that's beside the point. Phantom Abyss, okay. I gotta think about this one. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Phantom Abyss is a bleh for me. I think that the game is fun for the first about 2 to 3 hours of what you play. It's the best way to word it. It is a solid garbage game. It's another one where it has amazing ideas and the concept was so good, and then they just they implemented the concept that they had on paper, and then they went, washed their hands, and I'm done. We're good. Put it up there, throw it in, let people enjoy it, and then that's that. And I know that it's had some updates. I'm gonna tell you the updates have not made it go higher than that bleh tier. Would I load it up right now and do a run? Absolutely, but I still have another, what the frick? I still got another, 90 roguelikes to rank, so I cannot. But it is fine, okay? Highest tier of bleh, and I think that it will probably stay there. Let's talk Peglin. A lot of people that are going to want Peglin in best of all time or love it tier. Really hard for it to be in either of those two tiers. I think that it's probably I mean, to be honest, with the ones that are here right now, it's better than all of these, okay? Peglin still has a lot of room to be good. It's sitting not in its 1.0 release yet. Hopefully soon. I know that the 0.9 release actually came out today when this is being recorded. It apparently adds a ton of content. I loaded it up, to be fair, and there's 70 orbs in the game now, so it really is trying, okay? It is trying. But it's not... It's an overrated game in its current stance right now. And I stand by it, and a lot of people are going to hate that. Peglin greater than Snake RX? You're not going to like my opinion on that. Let's talk Noida. This falls under the meh, it's fine. Not a huge fan, but I understand the hype. Noida's another one where, similar to a Beyond the Long Night, this is an adventure game disguised as a roguelike. I don't really think it's a roguelike. I do think that it is a fun game to play for a little bit, and then it gets gets frustrating. It's kind of it's similar to Beyond the Long Night. There's a lot of other content inside of Noida that isn't a roguelike. And that stuff is really cool if you're into it, but it's not a roguelike. The actual roguelike component of Noida is not very good. It's a big community puzzle game. That's a great way of wording it, yeah. Let's talk Nova Drift. I'm willing to put it here. Okay? I think it's a better game than Snake RX, yeah. Would I rather load up Spirits Abyss or Nova Drift? I'd rather load up Spirits Abyss. Nova Drift is really good though, okay? It's just not for me. And that's okay, right? This is my tier list. Some of you should have it in best of all time, maybe. It has that potential, okay? I'm just not the biggest fan of it. It's not necessarily for me. Interesting space-driven kind of combat shooter. It's good. It's not for me. And that's fine, right? That's fine. Let's talk Mechanobot. This one hurt me on a spiritual level. I'm just going to be honest with you. One of my most anticipated games of the year came out as a meta progression driven trash heap. I genuinely struggle with the fact that I'll put it here. I struggle because it had the potential to be a really, really fun auto battling game. And the meta progression made it unplayable. So it has to go in the bleh tier. The meta progression is not as bad as Iris and the Giant, and the gameplay is more fun, so it has to go there. But it's like they had a concept and then they just rushed a finish, and I struggle with the fact that I don't necessarily think that finish was good. So it goes there. Let's talk Slice and Dice. Am I ready to do it? Yeah, I'm mentally prepared to do it. Slice and Dice is a best of all time roguelike, man. It really is. People are they may not like that. I think the game is one of the best around. And every time I get the opportunity to play it, I love it more than the last time that I loved it. I think that it also is one of those games that can continue to expand and be even better than what it is if the dev wants to continue working on it. The game is brilliant. It really, really is. I will not take any other opinions. Slice and Dice over Dicey Dungeons is wild. It is not. It is not. Slice and Dice is a better game. The only thing Slice and Dice is missing is, for the love of God, I would love this game to finally add a soundtrack. Because having to play lo-fi over it every single time, people lose their mind. But I don't care. Slice and Dice wins in my heart. Crypt of the Necrodancer. This is such a hard one for me. And I'm going to what the frick, man? How do you fit this in here? I have not played enough Crypt of the Necrodancer to rate it. Okay? I understand the hype of the game. I am a fan of the game. So I can't put it in this tier, right? I think that it's a very good game, okay? I think it's a very good game. I just can't play it, okay? I cannot play the game. I am going to put it... I think that I cannot properly rate it. And if I cannot properly rate it, it has to go here. And to the point, I'm going to change this tier to be haven't played / cannot rate, okay? And I'm going to do this just so we don't have another new line. I don't think I've played it enough to properly rate it. But I don't feel good about putting it in any of those tiers. So that's that. And I'm going to continue. Inscription Casey's mod. This is going to be a hot take, I think. It's fine. Inscription as a game, I loved it. Casey's mod is fine, right? It's interesting. It's a fun little way to waste some time. It has an extreme amount of, not meta progression, but just meta to it. That you have to, if you don't understand every little nitty gritty thing, it's not very fun. But for what it was expected to be, they did very good with it. And that's why I understand the hype of it. It's not for me. And that's why I put it into this tier. Hopefully that's valid to some of you. Rogue Heroes. This game... Oh, man, dude. there should be a tier for didn't live up to its potential, right? This goes in that tier. And right now that tier is basically bleh. Rogue Heroes it's a fun game for the first like hour and a half that you play it. But the issue is that after that hour and a half, Rogue Heroes becomes a very samey adventure. It had the ability to be this like open world Zelda roguelike. And the first hour and a half of it, you're like, holy frick, this game is open world Zelda roguelike. And then the next infinite amount of time is, oh, this is just the same dungeon over and over and over. They only made one dungeon. And then that's where the game fails. But that first hour and a half, you're going to look at this game and be like, holy frick, I found the next big game. And then you will change your mind after 2 hours. And that's what makes it rough. Let's talk Dome Keeper. This is genuinely a little bit of a tough one for me. And this is maybe going to be one of my hottest takes here. I'm going to put Dome Keeper right here. Dome Keeper is a really, really solid game that I had a lot of fun playing. Dome Keeper is overrated for the amount of content that's in it. It's super solid. I had a lot of fun. Not enough content. When it has more updates and it gets more characters and it gets more abilities and it gets more variety, I will absolutely put it in best of all time if you want me to. In its current state, it's not there yet. The presentation, the music, the graphics, all best of all time quality. Vibes are phenomenal in it. The actual gameplay, it's not there yet. And that's why it's a solid game. It's important to note, solid game, these are like, you're still getting like 10 hours out of these games. That's a brilliant game, for the record. But it's not there yet. And that's okay. We love that for him. Early access games, man. They're a beauty. Fuzz Force Spook Squad. I want to not trash this game, okay? But I'm gonna trash it a little bit. I'm gonna put it right here. I don't think it's an F tier game. I think it's a game that tried to do too much. And tried to do too much in a setting that it shouldn't have. Fuzz Force Spook Squad, it's a dice building strategy game. It's not good, okay, but it has an idea that works. It's just not executed right. It's very clunky. It's very difficult to understand what is going on in the game, but it's just not well made. That's the issue with it. It's one of those ones where a huge overhaul, it could be in solid game easily, but in its current state, it's not great. And one of the big reasons, it was meant to be a board game and then got ported to be a video game, and sometimes there's just a disconnect. And it's tough to, without creating an entire manual to explain your game like a board game does, it's hard to get that across in a video game. And it didn't succeed at it on launch, which is when I played it. So it's in bleh for me. I do think that the game could be higher with some changes. Let's talk Cave Blazers. I think that this was a solid game. I'm putting it on the bottom of my solid game tier. It's a Spelunky style mining roguelike. It doesn't do anything crazy special, although it did have a pretty big update apparently that changed a lot of the game, and I have not played it since then. But when I played, it was a game that I played and I went, I think I'd just rather play Spelunky. Not that it was a bad game in any way, but it just made me want to play Spelunky instead. And that's completely fine. So it goes in solid game and I move on. Desktop Dungeons Rewind. It's tough because I just got paid for Desktop Dungeons Rewind today. Not that that's going to change my opinion of it in any way. I do think that it's a solid game. Where do I put it in my solid game tier? I think I put it here. Okay? I think the game's really fun. I think it takes a little bit too long to get to a point where the game is what the game is. I know that that's a weird way of wording it, but the game has a ton of unique mechanics and awesome ideas. It just takes a little too long to get there. Once you get there, you're like, God, this rocks. But it takes too long. So I think the game's brilliant. I definitely think that it's worth a look. I don't have time as a content creator to get to that point where people are not already bored. And that's why it's tough for me to rank some of these games, because your opinions are going to vary. If you have the time to sink 90 hours into a game, you're going to really like Desktop Dungeons Rewind. As a YouTuber, I don't have the time to do that. So I have to rank things a little differently. Let's talk Played Up. I don't think you're gonna like my opinion of Played Up at all. I'm going to put it here in the list. No, I'm gonna put it here in the list. I would so rather play it than any of those 6. Played Up had a lot of hype. There's not enough in Played Up for me to desire playing it again. I think Played Up needed a lot more content and a lot more variety and like interesting events and ideas and all kinds of wacky things in order to be the game that everybody thinks that it is. Right now, it's not to me. So that's why I get the hype. It's a overcooked roguelike. Totally understand the multiplayer of it's fun. It's not for me, maybe. Maybe in the future. Let's talk Right and Down. It's a tough one for me. I think that this is the closest it gets to being here on the bleh. I think that it may hold this spot for the rest of this situation. God, like, another like 20 games were added since the last time I looked down there. That's a problem. It's super solid. The late game in it is not as good as the early game. It's like when you play the early game, you go, yeah, this is fantastic. Keep feeding me. And then you get to the late game and you're like, it's just kind of fine, right? It's just kind of fine. So, it's going right here. I'm more interested they're releasing a sequel that is Right and Down and Dice. I think that one looks really good. So we'll see. Maybe that one will be better. Necro Bouncer. Dude, genuinely underrated roguelike that has a lot of potential. Okay? I think the biggest thing this game needs, and this is gonna sound horrible when I say it because it's me, right? Like I'm talking to myself. Necro Bouncer just needs YouTubers to play it. It needs people to get into the community for the game and then tell the devs feedback and advice. Because right now, just nobody's playing it, so the game doesn't know where to go next, right? It needs that direction from the community in order to make that game into something amazing. But right now, it's a top-down shooter roguelike with a lot of unique and interesting ideas and concepts and a bunch of different variety. It's got good stuff. It needs like some community loving. That's about it. Switch Cars. Brother, this game is an acid trip. I do like it. I don't understand it. I'm going to put it here on this list. It's one of those games where like I don't think it's possible to understand it. You just kind of play it, it's an experience, and then you move on. It's not one of those games I'm getting 400 hours out of. It's just a game that doesn't make any sense to me. And that's where I stand on it. Gordian Quest, this is a very, very good deck building tactical roguelike that is just the worst theming of all time and thus makes my eyes roll over in the back of my head every time I play it. The gameplay is good, the combat, the presentation sucks. Okay? So it goes, I'm gonna be honest, it probably goes here for me. It's genuinely a good deck building game. It's just boring. I know that's not a valid thing to say, but it is. It's just a boring game for being such a brilliant deck builder. Going Under, I was actually kind of disappointed in this game. I'm gonna put it here. I think I'd rather play Phantom Abyss than it. A lot of people like Going Under. It's a Binding of Isaac clone in my book. They tried to do something unique by making the environment kind of fully destructible. and then putting it kind of at that Hades isometric angle. The game gave me a massive headache for some reason. I don't know if that was just a coincidence that the 2 times I played it, I got a headache during both times, or if it was related to the game, but it's just not, it wasn't for me. So, in the Blit tier. Void Bastards, brother, I haven't played enough of this game, but I really, really liked it when I played it. I'm gonna put it like here. I probably have 2-3 hours in it. I think it's a brilliant game. I struggle with that. I don't really think it's a roguelike in some ways. I think it's another very story-based game that is extremely close to being a roguelike, but kind of teeters on that line, and thus I struggle to rate it such. But I do think the game is very good and it's worth a look. It's kind of an FPS roguelike, but a mission-based FPS roguelike. Very fun, very unique. Good graphics as well. The art style is fun. Forward Escape the Fold. I'm putting it here and I'm moving on with my discussion. I'll speak on it a little bit, but I'm not going to change my ranking. Forward Escape the Fold is a brilliant game that I love with every bone of my being. I do think that the game needed a lot more content in order to be ranked higher. Some runs feel very samey. The decision making is not that complex, but it just captures your heart. Like, it's one of those games that has a bunch of soul sitting in it that makes me enjoy it. I like it. I struggle to find another thing to say about it, but for a cheap deck building strategy game, it's not even a deck building game, it's just kind of a strategy game. It has a lot of the same things that Space Gladiators does, where you're balancing a bunch of synergizing items together, and that can make for a really fun experience. Let's talk Ring of Pain. I think Ring of Pain is a really solid game. I'm gonna put it here in my solid game. I haven't played enough of it to truly put it in the love it tier, although I do think that it has the quality to be in the love it tier. It's a game that has a lot of heart in it. The design is very funky. It's one of the most unique games you're going to play. It has some hilarious Twitch integration if you're a content creator watching this and wanting a new roguelike game to play on Twitch. I just haven't played enough of it to rank it higher than right there. Exit the Gungeon. I have played it on mobile for 10 minutes. I have not played it on Steam, and thus I cannot make a valid judgment on whether Exit the Gungeon is good or not. I found it very difficult to manage on my phone, so I uninstalled the game and enjoyed the gigabyte of space back. But I have not played it on Steam, so I have no idea how it will play. So that's that. Let's talk The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. That's actually Repentance, never mind. Let's talk The Binding of Isaac Repentance. Let's not talk too much about it. It's actually here for me. And people probably expected me to put it somewhere else. Isaac's a top 5 roguelike of all time. And it's just that's that, man. I can't rank it any lower than that. I do think it's better than Enter the Gungeon. I don't think it's the greatest roguelike of all time, and we'll get there when we get there. I don't think it's greater or worse than Enter the Gungeon, so it has to sit there for right now. It's an incredible game. Very, very good. I have 2,500 hours in it. Moonlighter. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm putting it in F tier. Okay? I'm putting it in F tier. Here's my reason why. Moonlighter just makes me mad every time I play it. Because one half of the game, managing your shop, is so brilliant. It's insane. It is such a brilliant shop management idea for a roguelike. That said, it does copy another game that I don't remember the name of, but it is a brilliant idea. The actual dungeon crawling mechanics in Moonlighter are so bad, it's insane. It's miserable. Absolutely miserable. And that brings the game so far down that it goes into the F tier. If the gameplay was even slightly okay, I'd put it in, like, high bleh. But the dungeon crawling is so bad. that it's just painful. Shotgun King. Yo, I don't think y'all are ready for this one. I actually think this game is in the greatest of all time. Maybe this is my wildest take yet. Shotgun King bangs, man. The original version does not bang as hard. The latest update for Shotgun King it's it, man. Like, it has a lot of content in that game, a lot of unique situations, unique decision making. I think that game goes hard, and I think that you can probably play it for 15 hours without getting tired of it, which that makes for a very good roguelike to me. I am looking at the tier list, though. Would I rather... Nah, dude, I like Shotgun King more than Luck Be a Landlord. I do. It's tight. it's really tight. The bottom tier of greatest of all time and the top tier of I love it is insane, man. Like, those are really good games. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it and let it run. Let's talk Dungreed. Never mind on writing down being the top of the bullet list. Dungreed is definitely the top of the bullet list. Dungreed, look, it's a good game. There's a lot of unique things going for it. I don't like it. I can't put it in the meh, it's fine, not a huge fan, but I understand the hype, because the game isn't actually hype. There's no hype surrounding the game whatsoever, and most people tend to kind of agree that it's not great. Dungreed is like 7 changes away from being an S tier game, but those 7 changes haven't happened. So if you're looking for a very unique platforming roguelike with fun combat, check it out. But if you are not looking for that, don't check it out, because you're not missing much. So that's that. Brick Odyssey. Gonna put this in bleh. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna move this to here. Brick Odyssey is getting there, but it's a very early access game. It will be higher in the future, but it's not there yet. It's a brick breaker roguelike. It's just not there yet. But the foundation it has is very solid. Plinko Panic, I'm rating this way higher than I should, so I'm just forewarning you now. I'm putting Plinko Panic right here on my list. I do think that Plinko Panic is an insanely cool game. As a Plinko roguelike, it's super cool. The dev is a great guy. Every update changes the game more than the previous. The game is still trying to figure out where it's at. And that's okay, because even in the process of it figuring out where it's at, it is still a solid game. So it's just going to continue to get better, and I really think that in the hands of a good developer, it will be a game that gets talked about in the future. But right now, I mean, it's got like 20 reviews on Steam, man. It is not a big game by any stretch of the imagination. So room to grow. Keep your eye on that one for sure. Let's talk Roll. I know that X-Ray Dev is in here, so I'm not going to trash his game in front of him. I love Roll, okay? I think Roll is a really, really cool game. I am putting it slightly below Plinko Panic and right above Beat Blast for one reason and one reason only. I think the game needs a proper progression system. Roll is very fun the first 7 times you play it. Roll could get taken into that top tier with a couple of changes to it. And literally the main change that you do is you just create a shop on the home screen that has new abilities that you can buy for your money that you gain from playing the game. You literally make a meta progression store in the game. Set the abilities at the beginning to be very simple so that you understand upgrading your dice and getting a hang of the game, and then start to add in all of those wacky dice effects as things you can buy from a meta progression shop. It would allow the game to slowly change and progress and get more complicated instead of the information overload of going into the first shop and having like 20 upgrades you don't understand. And then having to experiment and then realizing, oh, I didn't understand this at all and I just wasted a ton of money and now my score sucks. And having to just throw away runs because you didn't understand the game. And if it just gated you a little bit, then instead you could have the game expand and be something really special. But in its current state, I love the game, and it's cheap as hell. It's worth playing. You can get some really good big number simulator going with it. But I think that the game is a little like, yeah, it just needs, it needs, it's like, it's wild when I say the game needs to handhold you. Because I hate when games handhold me, but that game needs to handhold you. And that's the only negative thing I can say about it. Otherwise, I love it. Once again, anything in the solid game tier are games that I genuinely will promote every day of the week, and I think are very fun games. I think Roll could actually maybe be a little higher. Yeah, I'm actually going to push it a little higher. I think I would rather play Roll than all of these games, but I'm also going to move Plinko Panic above it too. This is good enough for me now. Worth checking out. Pawnbarian. This is a chess roguelike, but it's a chess roguelike in a little bit of a weird way. I do think this is a solid game, but it's going to be the bottom of my solid game tier. There's just not enough in it for me to get super hyped about it, but it's a well-polished chess roguelike with some interesting ideas and kind of puzzling mechanics. I like it. I think it's good. Gunfire Reborn. Putting it right here. Okay, putting it right here. Gunfire Reborn's fine. A lot of people love it. A lot of people, it's going to be in their best of all time. Gunfire Reborn has some of the worst meta progression out of any game ever. It's ridiculous, man. It is ridiculous, the meta progression in the game. I just don't like playing it unless I cheat the game. So, and even then I don't really like the game. It's just, I don't know. I could probably put it lower, to be honest with you. I'll probably put it here instead. I think I'd rather load up Flint Hook right now than Gunfire Reborn. It's a tough one. I don't really like this game though. You're gonna roast me for that, and that's okay. Shogun Showdown, is love it, dude. Is love it, and it's like really love it. Is really love it. I'm gonna put it there for right now. The itch.io demo, incredible. The Steam prologue, really good. The full release could be in greatest of all time, but this is the Steam prologue. This is fantastic. Okay. Very good. Tactical roguelike, brilliant, very good. Hitman the roguelike. So this is Hitman's, it's called World of Assassination mode. I think it's really good. Okay. I actually think it's really good. I'm gonna put it like here on my list. For a AAA game, I actually think they did a brilliant job with creating the roguelike mode for Hitman. It's not super balanced. I think that it's extremely hard at the beginning, but once you start to get a hang of it, it's really solid. Creates a replayable Hitman game, which is something that Hitman struggled with as a game. I think it's brilliant. It's really good. It's really good. Let's talk Dead Cells. I'm gonna shock a lot of you. Okay, are you ready for the shock? I'm putting it right here. Okay? Dead Cells is a solid game. I've talked a lot of crap on it in the past, but it is a solid game. It's got a crap load of content. It's got tons of unique DLCs. It's got tons of unique items. The meta progression in it still like sucks, dude. It sucks. But it is... The devs have put a lot of heart into that game, which makes it go into solid game, even though I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, I have no interest in putting it higher on this list. I think that I could put it lower for my own personal opinion, but I don't think that the game deserves to be that low. I think the game is one of those games that the devs have really done a lot with it, and it deserves to be talked about. And it is talked about. I mean, a lot of people, this is one of their greatest games of all time. But for me, it's not. But I respect it too much to not put it into... I respect it way too much to put it into the not a huge fan. Because I'm not a huge fan, but the game deserves respect. 20 minutes till dawn. You are going to hate this opinion. I'm going to put it here. I actually think this game is hot booty cheek. It's a Vampire Survivors clone, not a very good one, and meta progression was horrible. That's it. It's not... I don't think it's worth the, like, $3 the game is. So that is an F tier game for me. I'm sorry. I just don't think it's very good. FTL, dude, just drop the mic, get out. One of the greatest roguelikes of all time. There's nothing else to say about it, okay? There is legit nothing else to say about it. One of the greatest games of all time. Not even roguelike, one of the greatest games of all time. Binding of Isaac, Wrath of the Lamb. I'm gonna put you right here. I cannot in my right mind do that. I'm gonna put you right here. The original Binding of Isaac still bangs, man. Okay? It still bangs. It's just that Repentance is so much better than it. And I don't care what anybody says. Repentance and Rebirth blows Wrath of the Lamb out of the water. But it still holds up as a very good game, even today, even with its trash graphics. Soundtrack is still incredible. Still such a good soundtrack. But the problem with Wrath of the Lamb is, why would you play it instead of Rebirth at this point? I can't think of a good reason. But as a revolutionary roguelike game, absolutely, is very good. Very, very good. In Celebration of Violence, I'm not lying. I'm not lying when I tell you this is one of the worst games I've ever played. I didn't even understand what I was doing for the 25 minutes that I played the game. And that was it. And then I uninstalled it and I never played it again. So I probably should be in the cannot rate, but it was horrible. So it goes right there. Into the Breach. Brilliant, puzzling, tactics-based roguelike. I put it right here, okay? It is a love it tier, for sure. I have not played enough of it, but if you enjoy FTL, if you enjoy tactical puzzle roguelikes, Into the Breach is one of the best out there. So it's well worth a look. Well worth a look. Let's talk Isle of Arrows. I rate this game way higher than other people. In fact, I think that I would put it here on this list. I do think that most people probably have it in solid game. I think that Isle of Arrows did something that I found hard to believe, which was they made a tower defense game that I loved. And like genuinely loved and looked forward to playing each day. It has a lot of flaws. There is a lot of RNG in the game. I do think that there's a little bit of not enough content syndrome in it as well. But I still love it. And I think that the game's really good. And if you're a fan of tower defense games and roguelikes, I think it is a must-play game. Let's talk Juicy Realm. Juicy Realm is way better than these other F-tier games, but it is not very good. And it has tried to get better, and it still just becomes a clunky Enter the Gungeon game. The movement feels bad, the gameplay feels bad. The style and the art is amazing, right? It's got incredible theming. You're literally killing all these fruits. I think it's hilarious. I don't think the game is good. So, Juicy Realm is a no from me. We can probably just end the tier list here, even though there's 40 50 games left. There's 50 games left. Spelunky 2 is your greatest game of all time. Stop the count. It's the best. Don't care. Y'all can Binding of Isaac me, FTL me, Slay the Spire me. It's the best. The end. I win. You lose. GG. Don't care, didn't ask. Plus, you got bad opinions on roguelikes. Lone Ruin. I was a little disappointed in Lone Ruin. I would put it here on my bleh list. I think that it's fine for the first like 2 hours that you play it. And then it runs into the issue of there is simply not enough content inside of Lone Ruin to put it higher than this. Ratchet's Den, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I actually think Ratchet's Den kind of bangs. This is a brilliant little bite-sized game. You're not getting a ton of content out of this, but you're getting a super unique style of roguelike that did something that I had never seen before as kind of this like mining tower defense, base building. It like mashed a ton of genres together into a super unique game. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was very, very interesting. It's well worth a look. Let's talk Undermine. Look, I played it again recently because of a video that I did. The every time I get hit, the roguelike changes. Undermine still has a big issue of being flawed with meta progression in it. That makes the game painful to play. But I am still going to put it, it's super tough. I think it's like here for me, okay? I do think that it could be at the top of this tier, but I do think Undermine is a good game. I think the combat is fun, the gameplay is fun. It's got a unique style, it's got a unique story. I don't like the meta progression, and that's the only thing that I hate about it. So I think it has to go here. Let's talk Super Auto Pets. Tough one to consider whether it's a roguelike or not. I do think that it can be considered one. I do think Super Auto Pets bangs. Like a lot. I actually think it probably bangs enough to be up here. But I think that it's also maybe not a roguelike. I do think that it's more of a roguelike. Well, I don't know. It bangs. I'm going to put it here, solely knocking it down a tier because I don't think it's a roguelike. And I think I probably like Luck Be a Landlord more than it. And I probably like Dicey Dungeons more than it. I probably like Shogun Showdown more than it. And I'm going to put it back up because I think I like it more than all those. These 4 could be totally interchanged over and over and over. It's very tough. It's very tough. Let's talk Manaspark. Lowest of the low of solid game. I really love Manaspark. There is not nearly enough content in it for me to rate it higher than this. But it is one of those hidden gem roguelike games that you will enjoy if you play it. Let's talk Shapebreaker. Kind of a disappointing tower defense style game. I'm going to put it near the top of the Bled tier. It did just have an update that apparently changed a lot of things in the game and made it better. But I have not played that new update, and thus I cannot say much about it at this point. But when I played it, bleh. Obsidian Prince, actually a really solid game. To the point where I'm going to put it right here. It's a tactics game, tactical voxel style game that has some interesting tactical gameplay, some interesting base building, some interesting kind of deck building mechanics as well. It's a game that struggled from, it's like the dev saw 25 games that he enjoyed and went, I want my game to be all of them. So he just made a game that combined 100 different genres. And the game's a little bit of a cluster, but it's fun. So you kind of just accept it. and that's where you go with it. Let's talk Patch Quest. It's a tough one, man. It's a really tough one. Patch Quest has a ton of heart. This game's got overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, I'm pretty sure. Which I think is wild, in my opinion. I think that this kind of falls in this tier. I thought the game was fine. I didn't really see what other people saw in it. I think that it felt very samey after a while. The part of the game that I enjoyed the most was the exploration component, and the exploration gets samey and kind of dies as you move on. So it's like I loved the first hour and a half, and then the rest of it felt like a chore to me. But if you're a big fan of like a Pokemon-style roguelike that has Enter the Gungeon gameplay, you're gonna frickin' love it, okay? You're gonna love it. Let's do Streets of Rogue. Streets of Rogue is a solid game. I'm gonna put it here on my list. I haven't played enough Streets of Rogue, I think, to make it happen. It's a weird game where it's another one that kind of doesn't feel like a roguelike. It's very RPG-y, and I like that about the game, and I hate that about the game, because it makes the game have close to no direction in it, which a roguelike needs some structure to survive. But I do think that what it does do is makes a unique experience. Like, you're not going to find a lot of games like Streets of Rogue, and that's why I'm excited for Streets of Rogue 2, which might be releasing this year, maybe next. I think that Streets of Rogue 2 has potential to be very high in a future list. But right now, it doesn't exist. So I have to only rate Streets of Rogue, and it has to go here. Demon Crawl, easy. You're not finding a better puzzle-based roguelike out there than it. Minesweeper roguelike, surprisingly brilliant, very good, and I'm a big fan. And I will be taking no further questions at this time. Cult of the Lamb, I'll do my example of this again, okay? Cult of the Lamb is a half-assed roguelike, and it's a half-assed colony sim. Together, that makes one full ass, which makes it a solid game, okay? But the reality is that it's disappointing because it didn't live up to what it could have been. So I'm actually going to knock it down. I would rather play it than No, you know what? I'd rather play Streets of Rogue than Cult of the Lamb. It is not good enough, and it had potential to be amazing. It will be better. I think that the new update they just did make it better. But I am just going to be real. I got no interest in going and playing it. So I'm not going to. And I'm just going to instead complain about it. An hour and 27 minutes into a tier list. Let's talk Shroom and Gloom. This is not even worth rating, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm putting it in not rating. This is a demo for a game that lasts 20 minutes. I cannot rate this. The demo was very fun, well worth a look. I cannot rate it. If the game ever releases, then I will play it and I will rank it as such. But I think it is literally a concept and will never really release. So, very fun concept. Will not rate it. Nuclear Throne. I am going to put it. I'm going to put it on the board somewhere, okay? You might not like this. I'm putting it here, okay? I don't think that Nuclear Throne deserves to be in the best of all time, okay? But I do love the game. And if you told me right now, Tyler, play or run, I'd love to. I would love to load up Nuclear Throne and play it. It might be a little high. I agree with that. There's a lot of flaws in Nuclear Throne, including replayability, but it is also a game that I enjoy a lot every time I play it. So, I'm chill with that. It can go there. Orbital Bullet, I'll put it in solid game, but I'm going to put it here. It's a super unique style, okay? Super unique style. Literally a 360-degree roguelike, where it's almost nauseating playing it, but it does something really unique with its style, where it's like the old school platformers, but they put this 2023 spin on it, and it's pretty unique. I would recommend checking it out. I haven't played it enough to say much more about it. I played like a half hour of the full release, so I don't have much to say. We'll talk Raven's Watch. Raven's Watch is in... I'm going to put it the lowest of the low of solid game right now. Raven's Watch is the equivalent of a demo right now, in my opinion, which is tough because it's like a $30 game. There's not enough content in it to be a $30 game, in my opinion. When it fully releases, absolutely, it's going to be a solid one. I had a lot of fun playing it. I played it solo and I played it with the Wholesomeverse. Had a sponsorship with it. Really enjoyed the sponsorship. Really enjoyed playing it. The game was very fun. No interest in loading it up until it gets a sizable amount of updates to it. Revita. Oh, Revita. Poor Ben Star's over here. It's like 2 a.m. his time, just waiting for me to rank his game. Revita is in best of all time for me. The issue is where I put it in best of all time. And I think... Oh, dude, it's really hard. It's really hard. I think I'm gonna switch some stuff in that tier. Honestly. I think I'm putting it right here for me. But then I'm doing something psycho, which is I'm putting Circadian Dice over all three of those. I'm boosting Circadian Dice to slip in Revita below it. I think the Revita definitely is a top 10 roguelike of all time to me. Circadian Dice is really good, which is why I'm bringing it up, okay? But I do think Revita is better than Space Gladiators and Tiny Rogues. I'm going to struggle to put it above any of the other 5. And that's where I stand on it. Revita's still amazing. Like, go ahead. You can WTF me in the chat. It's close. Revita 2.0, I'll put it here. 2.0 ain't out yet, and Ben refuses to release it to me. So instead, I put it there. Risk of Rain 1, I have not played. Rogue Legacy 1, I have not played. Don't even try to say a word to me. Rogue, I have not played. Haven't played all 3 of them. That's that. Rogue Legacy 2. I'm going to put it here. Okay? I actually understand Rogue Legacy 2. I'm not putting it in bleh. I think that Rogue Legacy 2 actually has a lot of heart and does a lot of things right. I still just hate meta progression, which makes me rank it this low. But this game becomes something. I've seen clips of this game way in the future of how I played it. And the reality is this game has a ton more unique stuff going on than what originally meets the eye. So I'm putting it here. Yeah, I'm putting it there. Slay the Spire. I'm putting it here today. And this is one where this changes for me like every day. Some days I have this. Some days I have this. Some days I have this. I think these 3 are your top 3. What order they go in depends on my mood. I'm putting it here today. Greatest roguelike deck builder of all time. Will not speak more on it. You know what Slay the Spire is. If you're watching this video and you don't know what Slay the Spire is, what the hell are you doing? Monolith. Monolith is in the Hall of Very Good. I think Monolith is here. Every time I play Monolith, I really enjoy it. Okay? I really do. I think it's better than Monster Train. I don't think that it deserves to be in the best of all time. But I do think that it deserves to be in the Hall of Very Good near the top. I think it's an I love it game. Brotato? Brother, I'm gonna hit you with this. I think Brotato is in the Hall of Very, Very Good. Okay? It's right up there. I mean, it is genuinely right up there. It is the best wave-based game for sure. Best arena shooter, hands down. Continues to improve with more updates. Modding community goes really hard. Cheap game, so you immediately get a ton of content out of it. I think it's great. I really do. It's also one of those games, I don't have a lot of flaws for it. I think that my biggest thing that I wish this game did was change the environment you're in to impact the gameplay. Things like having floors in the game that have things like, lava spots that hurt you if you step on them. Like things like that. Things that just make the environment a little bit more valuable. That's about it. Okay. Backpack Hero. I like Backpack Hero a lot. Okay. I can't in my right mind put it in Love It. So I'm putting it at the top of solid game. Backpack Hero tries to do too much. And if it would just refine what it already has, it could be better. But the game also is not fully released, so it has time to do that. The last time I played it, it was so significantly better than what it was the previous time before that. Because all of the little, like, balance tweaks and, tutorialization and UI development and all of these quality of life features are going to make Backpack Hero amazing. But they're not all in there yet. And when they are, it's going to be very good. It's a work in progress game, but it's still super solid. I would recommend it. Binding of Isaac Rebirth. I'm going to tell you, I refuse to rate another Binding of Isaac game. Repentance is Rebirth at this point for me. So I am not ranking it. Am I going to rank it? Okay, sure, I'll rank it. I'll put it here. Yeah, I'll put it there. That's fine. I hate it. I'm not talking about it. We're moving on. Vampire Survivors falls into the I understand the hype. It's not for me. I just find it boring. Okay? I just find it boring. I get the arena shooter genre. I get the big number simulator. I get it. Okay? It's not for me. And that's okay. Descenders. Okay. We meme Descenders a lot. Okay. We meme Descenders a lot. Descenders as a roguelike is hot ass, dude. It's genuinely not good. I'm going to put it right here. It's not a very good roguelike. Hilarious game. Very fun to play. Not a good roguelike. And we'll move from there. Wild Frost, here's the hotness of the week, huh? Might not like this one. I'm putting it here, okay? I don't think that Wild Frost deserves to be a mostly positive reviewed game. I think that it's a really solid deck builder that has a lot of fun interactions with its items. I do think the game needs a lot more content, and I know that the devs are working on that. But I don't think it deserves hate. I think the game's very fun. Well worth the money. Good deck building combat. Fun tactics. Brutally hard. I still think the biggest issue with the game is the art style doesn't match how hard the game is. But that's a very weird issue to have. I think that a lot of people are just babies for that. I think it's a brilliant game. And I put it there. No, I don't. I put it way higher, man. I put it way higher. I'm gonna put it all the way here. Okay? That was a big jump for it. But the reality is I actually would rather play Wild Frost than any of those other games. So, I'm chilling with it. We take a small break for me to answer one person in chat. Can I ask you, if you were recommending someone a game right now, would you tell them to get base Rebirth or Revita? I would tell them to get base Rebirth. Sorry, not sorry. Nowhere Profit. This game was not very good. And I had a lot of faith for it. I'm gonna put it, like, here. I don't think it had the juice, man. I don't think it had the juice as a deck building game to keep me interested. So I'm putting it right there. We're moving on. One Step from Eden. It's the highest of it's fine, but it's not for me. Okay. I completely understand One Step from Eden. It's hard to record, and it's too much for a tiny brain like me. But I understand the hype of it. And I get that it can be fun. It's not for me. And that's okay. And we're gonna move on. Blazing Beaks, I think it is a solid game in one of the lowest possible tiers. I'll put it here. The one thing that it does that is unique is taking trash items and making those trash items better by holding on to the trash items for a long time. To be blunt, I think that Cavity Busters does it significantly better than Blazing Beaks does. So it goes here. I still think it's better than Mana Spark. I think Raven's Watch is probably better than it too. So I'm gonna put that there. I was like, these are so close to dropping into bleh, man. Like they are so close. Spelunky 1 slips in right there for me. I do think that it is better than Enter the Gungeon. You can hit me if you'd like. But I do think it's better than Enter the Gungeon. Don't be mad. I move on. And that's that. Super Auto Battlemon. I think this game is good. I think it's here for me. Okay, I think it's here for me. The game is just a little hard to understand. That's all. It does a lot of unique things as an auto battler. It just doesn't. It needs more work, right? It needs another like 4 hours in the oven, and then this game's gonna rock. But it's not there yet. Mother Gunship, never played. Children of Morta, I have technically played the roguelike version for a half hour with v.me. In that case, have not played. I can't rate that properly. Grifflands, I have not played. Rogue Book, I have not played. BPM, I have not played. Tower Escape was actually a pretty wild game, man. I'm going to put it in high solid game. This was a tower defense game, but you are the enemies in it. And I found that to be a very interesting style. There was secretly a lot of content in the game. It did get a little samey over time, which is why I put it a little bit lower, because I think that even with the amount of content, you're going to find yourself maybe bored after a while. But I think that the style of game is really unique. The genre is unique. Kind of created a new idea with this. So I'm happy with it being here. Fights in tight spaces. I like this game way more than the average person does. I'm going to put it right here. I actually like Fights in Tight Spaces more than Monster Train, okay? I think I like it more than Monolith as well. Brilliant tactical deck building game. Super cool animation style. Really cool art style. Fun combat. Thinky. Cool interactions and combos. It hits all of the good spots in a tactical game. Yeah, it's actually very similar to Shogun Showdown. Yeah, the fact that these two ended up next to each other is hilarious because they are very similar. I think that Shogun Showdown simplifies Fights in Tight Spaces in a way that actually makes it more accessible and more fun. But they are very similar games, for sure. Blocky Dungeon, this is one that came out recently. I think Blocky Dungeon is fine, man. I think it's fine. I don't think it's anything special, okay? I'm gonna put it here. It's a kind of Tetris roguelike, but a legitimate Tetris dungeon crawler where you're moving in the Tetris pieces. Does some unique stuff. It doesn't do enough to be a game that I would rate super highly. If you're into those kind of fringe case, super unique roguelikes, sure, play it, check it out. I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about it when we're an hour and 43 minutes in. Curse to Golf, I actually have never played it, but I do want to touch on this one. Apparently the runs in this are about 11 hours long, which is absurd and should be a war crime. Deep in Galaxy's Dig. No lie, dude, this game bangs really hard. This game bangs really hard. I'm going to slip it sneakily into Love It tier. I've only played like 2 hours of this game. But it just has a style that is really interesting to me. It does fall into the camp of trying to do too much, okay? It's a lot of genres combined into one. But just the art style, the gameplay, the characters, the music, the effects, the upgrades, everything just feels good in the game. And I could see myself dumping a lot of time into this game if people on YouTube wanted me to. So I put it there, and that's good enough for me. Insurmountable. I think that Insurmountable is actually a really cool game that I did not spend enough time playing. I'm going to put it here on my list. It is solid. It's a mountain climbing roguelike. Interesting story. Gets a little samey after a while. Little bit of RNG, I think, associated in it as well. But the style and just the like presentation of the game is brilliant. Well worth a look. Very unique game. Yeah, very, very unique game. Alina of the Arena, I have not played. I cannot put it in the tier list, but I've heard this game is very, very good, and I should probably play it at some point in time. Loot River, have not played either, but I've heard it's ass. So take that as you will. I don't know much about it. Scourgebringer, also one that I have not played, but I have heard it is very good. So I am not going to touch on it at all here. This is Heroes of Hammers Watch. I have not played it. Have heard it is good. Have not played it. Rogue Tower, have not played it. But the meta progression tree for this game is actually a war crime. So if you are like me and don't enjoy meta progression, just skip this one. I never even bothered to play it because I knew I was gonna cry if I played it. It's almost worth me pulling up the meta progression tree so you can see it, but I recommend just Google Rogue Tower meta progression and you will see it. Okay, it's absolutely incredible. Against the Storm, this is another game I have not played. Roguelike deck builder, apparently very good. I have not played it. Bone Razor Minions, Vampire Survivor style game, same developer as Spirits Abyss, apparently very good. I have not played it. Curse of the Dead Gods, I have played, I did not enjoy it. I'm gonna put it there. I gotta put Descenders above these, man. I would so rather play Descenders than any of those games. So I tweak you a little bit. Curse of the Dead Gods, Raven's Watch is better already than Curse of the Dead Gods was. I just found it to be samey and a little clunky in the way that it plays. So I put it there. Cultist Simulator, have not played. Inkulinati. Boy, I haven't thought about this game since I played it. Which means it left close to no lasting impact on me. I think there are better tactical roguelikes, man. I really do. It was an incredibly unique game with some very strange mechanics. And very strange art, and just in a very strange style. It had a full, like, acted out scene in it, like humans acting out a scene in the game, which took me very by surprise. It's just a strange game. Tactical lovers, you will enjoy it, but I did not really. Death Road to Canada, I have not played, I'm sorry. Have a Nice Death, I have not played, I'm also sorry. I know that a lot of people really like this game. I have not played it yet. Crown Trick. I think you're gonna hate my opinion of this one, because a lot of people actually like this game. I kind of I kind of think that this is high F tier, dude. I think Crown Trick is not very good. And it had a lot of potential to be a good tactical game, and it just became not fun instead. So I'm not gonna do anything with it. I need to refresh. I'll refresh. I would have cried if that killed my thing. Okay. Ouroboros King. This game's wild. I'm actually gonna put it in very low solid game. I'll put it higher than these two. This is a chess roguelike that can basically be considered chess 2. It adds new chess pieces as a chess roguelike. It's funky. It's a very funky game. I may never play it ever again, but I enjoyed the hour that I played it. The Last Spell, have not played. Sifu, have not played. Mr. Sun's Hatbox goes really hard. I'm going to put it, like, here. Okay? I think I'm liking it more than Desktop Dungeons Rewind. And I like Desktop Dungeons Rewind. These are all still very good games in this tier right now. This game is wacky. It's just wacky. I think that there's some stuff I don't like about it. Just how... Honestly, the thing that I dislike the most about it is the gameplay. Which, I know that sounds weird. but I don't actually enjoy the gameplay as much as I just enjoy the presentation of the game, the management of the game, and the unique upgrades and things like that. It's a funky little game though. Definitely check that one out. Underrated, I think. Could go higher than where it is right now. Ember Knights, I have not played. Realm of the Mad God, I have not played, although everybody and their mother tells me to play this because it's free and little kids love free games. Wildermyth, have not played. Returnal, AAA roguelike, have not played. Temp Zero is pretty good, okay? It's a good game, but it has close to no content in it. I'm going to put it in solid game at the bottom. It is completely fine, okay? You're just not getting enough out of it for me to rate it higher than this. Despot's Game. I actually like Despot's Game. How much do I like Despot's Game? As an auto-battling roguelike, I'm actually completely happy to put it here. I think that Despot's Game is completely fine. Okay, I think it's completely fine. Good auto-battling game. Fun story, unique people, and just style of the game. And that's all I got. Duelist of Eden, this is the new One Step from Eden. This is just a meme. Neon Abyss, I mean this in the nicest of ways, is an F tier game for me. I've talked about Neon Abyss many, many times in the past. Neon Abyss does one thing and one thing right only, and that is the meta progression in it. The rest of the game is bad. And I will not be fielding any further questions unless somebody asks nicely in the comment section. Downwell is a fun game, a solid game. I'm not going to rate it super high. I'm going to put it here. It's a solid game. I'm not putting it higher than that. You know, it's a little old. Other games have expanded to be better than Downwell at this point. I know a lot of people are going to rank it much higher. I don't see a reason to put it higher. That's all I got. Loop Hero, very disappointing game for me, to the point where I'm going to put it here. I wanted a lot more from Loop Hero. I think that Loop Hero spurred a genre of games that are now very good, but it itself is not very good. So I put it in bleh. RoboQuest, have not played. Golfy was a game, dude. I think Golfy was a little meh, but I'm gonna tell you, I would play it again if you ask me. I never played the full release. I had just played the demo. I thought the demo was not an amazing concept for a game. Like, as a mini golf roguelike, I expected more from it, and maybe the full release has it. But I definitely did not. I did not enjoy the demo that much. Flurp. This is like maybe my hottest take of all time. I actually thought Flurp was kind of bad, to the point where I think I'm gonna put it here. It reaches a point in Flurp where you can't even understand the game. Like, it's just stuff on the screen. it's just noise on the screen. And my computer started to actually overheat just having it run on my computer. I didn't really like it. It's fine if you liked it. I think it'll be higher for some people. Not for me. Danger Scavenger, never played. Heart and Slash, never played. Exit the Gungeon, already rated, so I'm gonna put it in here. Dungeon of the Endless, never played. I literally don't even know what this is. So that's a problem for me. Never played. Chessplosion is not a roguelike? Is not a roguelike game? So, Sparklight? I've never heard of that. Chessplosion is not a roguelike, so I'm not going to rate it as such. I do think Chessplosion was interesting, for what it's worth, but I don't think it's a roguelike game. Okay, you guys are telling me I'm gonna get flamed for Flurp. Flurp was fine. I played one run of it and it was too strong. Like, I literally killed the game too much. I'll put it here instead. Is that better? I enjoyed the beginning of Flurp. I hated the end of Flurp. Okay. Plunge, never played. Putrid Shot Ultra. This game was fine. It was fine. I don't think it's a solid game. I think it's just fine. I'm going to put it here. There needs to be a little bit more in this to have it be better. But it could get there. It's a potential game. It's not a game that's good at the current moment. Dice Legacy I have not played, however I heard it was a little disappointing. Goner I have not played. Pawnbarian is a duplicate. Burning Night I have not played. Wizard of Legend, dude, I actually hate this game. I actually hate this game. I'm going to put it... Brother, I want to be real with you. I'm putting Neon Abyss above it. I actually don't like Wizard of Legend at all. Legitimately, I do not like this game. And this is maybe a tough pill to swallow for some people, because a lot of people really like this game. But I do not like Wizard of Legend. I think that it is an insanely samey game that is not fun to play. I don't think there's any variety in it. I don't know what variety you people are talking about in the chat. I don't think there's any variety in this game. Every run felt the exact same to me. Okay, we'll continue. I have no idea what this is. I think that says paranautical activity? Parasuitical activity? Not a clue. I quite literally have no clue what that game is. Metallic Child? Never heard of it. Shovel Knight Dig. I am going to hit you with the sauce. Right here, right now. I think that Shovel Knight Dig is not as good as Dungreed. I think the Shovel Knight Dig could have been way better than what it was. The style, the art, the characters, all very good. The actual gameplay, not as very good. Had potential to be significantly better and was a little bit down on my expectations. Soul Knight, have never heard of. Dead Estate is a banger game, man. How the hell did we go this long without talking about Dead Estate? It's Love It tier for sure. I gotta figure out where in the Love It tier I put it. Boy, is it really gonna drop that low in the Love It tier? Brother, there's a lot of good roguelikes. Dead Estate's gonna slip there for me. It is a really, really good game. Okay? I mean, like, I genuinely love Dead Estate. Fun, Isaac-like roguelike. I just like all of these more than it. It just is that simple for me. I actually just like all of those more than it. So we continue. Don't Starve. Weird roguelike. I mean, it is a roguelike. I don't really consider it to be one. I think that Don't Starve is a good game, man. I mean, look, I think it's like here. Like, I love Don't Starve. I enjoy playing Don't Starve. I haven't played it in 10 years, but I do like playing Don't Starve. It's a good game. I just haven't so much as thought about it in 10 years. But I think that a lot of people are going to be happy to see it here. Like, I think it's a good game. I'm not going to get mad at it being there. Hades, we're 2 hours in, man. What is there to say about Hades? It's a great game that I don't understand, okay? I don't get the hype. Hades is a game, I've said it a million times, okay? Hades is a brilliant presentation. Music, art, characters, style, even, like, the way that the gameplay works. You know, like the animations. How about that? That's a better way to word it. The animations. All brilliant. All of that puts it, like here. Okay? Then you actually play the game, and it goes here. Because the gameplay is just boring. The rest of it is brilliant, the gameplay is boring. And that's fine. There's a lot of games like that, man. It's completely fine. Great presentation, crappy game. You can play it for the story, and it's completely fine. Not for me. I'm a gameplay guy, not a story guy. Goes right there. Swordship, never heard of. Spelunky Classic. Brother, I haven't played Spelunky Classic enough to rate it. It's a solid game. I'll put it at the bottom of solid game. I've played about 20 minutes of Spelunky Classic. I cannot rate it anywhere beyond this. I refuse to put it in bleh. I don't think I can put it in cannot rate right now. We continue. I hit the refresh because they keep on adding more games, man. They just keep coming. Pirates Outlaws. I actually think I'm going to hate my opinion of this. I am putting Pirates Outlaws right here. Maybe. Dude, I think that Pirates Outlaws is really good. I think it's a top 5 deck building roguelike. It's just the disparity between deck building roguelikes is crazy, right? Because you have Slay the Spire, you have Monster Train, you have Fights in Tight Spaces. Then your next deck building game that I have is Pirates Outlaws. I think that it could be the 4th best. Okay? I just don't think it deserves to be in Love It. I think the game is really good. I don't think it deserves to be in Love It. I'm gonna move from there. I'm happy with that. Curse of the Dead Gods is a duplicate game. Damocles Gaze I did not play, actually. I'm surprised that from Amocles Gaze I understood what that title was, but I actually have not played it. Metavax I also have not played. I need to play both of these games. They're by the same makers as Ratchet's Den, which I rated very high on this list right here. I've heard these games are very good. I have not played them. I literally need a freaking microscope to see what this is. I have no idea what this game is. So I apologize right now. No clue. Literally no clue. Goner 1, I have never played Goner. Or Goner 1. Hand of Fate, I have not played. Hand of Fate 2, I have not played. However, I've heard that Hand of Fate 2 is freaking horrible, okay? Heard it's really bad. This is Eve Bullet. I'm gonna guess this is Heaven Bullet. I've never played this game. If this does exist, I don't know what it is. Crush the Industry, I have not played. Void to the Human Wild Heart, I've never played either. Apparently this game is phenomenal and inspired Revita in a lot of ways. Have not played it. I literally can't even see what that says. Got no clue what that is. Wasted, I don't know what that is. Fury Unleashed, man. This is a game for sure. I'm going to put it in high bleh. Here's my issue with Fury Unleashed. It tried to do too much. It had a really, really good idea as a platforming roguelike. There's too many mechanics in it. It tried to do too much. It could be much higher if they simplified their game. But I put it in bleh. Sturdan, never heard of you. Strafe, don't know ya. This is Tumbleseed, never played it, have heard horrible things about it, okay? I'm sorry. Crummit's Tale. I actually enjoyed Crummit's Tale. I think it's like here for me. It's a solid game. Really solid game. It's on mobile, but it's also on Steam. This is a solid deck building card game. Kind of similar in nature a little bit about, kind of similar to Forward Escape the Fold in its gameplay a little bit. Sproggywood, I have not played. I've actually heard good things about that one. Tower of Guns, I have not played. However, I have heard good things about it. Poker Quest, I have not played, believe it or not, but I've heard very good things about it. And Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, I have not played, but I've heard good things about. I'm going to refresh. Frick you. Hollow Cure, I have not played. So that's my list. I am disappointed. Okay. I am disappointed that I have more in the have not played than any other category. But brother, I've got a lot of them played. Okay? Like, this is an insane tier list. I'm very pleased with this. It's a little nonsensical, for sure. But that is 100 and close to 80 roguelikes ranked. Roast my opinions. It took 2 hours and 30 minutes to do this. The most insane video I'll ever upload on my channel. But that's okay. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to leave your reasons why you hate me in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.